I'm your host, Riem Zin Labidin, and you are listening to Tech Tag Podcast. Today, our guest is Ata Mkrtchyan. She's a software engineer at LiveIntent, and she has an interesting journey. I'm very happy to know her in person and to work with her as well. And she recently gave her first talk at the Scala conference. Let's meet with her and learn more about her journey. Hello, Ata. I'm very happy to have you today. Welcome to Tech Tag Podcast.
Hey, William. Thank you.
For those who don't know you, can you introduce yourself and tell us some fun facts about you?
My name is Ata, short for Astrid. I come from Armenia. That's kind of a fun fact because a lot of people happen to even never heard of it, the country.
I actually thought Romania.
No, Armenia.
Armenia,
That's
okay.
That's why I get so much like, is it Romania? Is it Albania? Well, it is Armenia and a tiny place, so it's not very known.
Mm-hmm. And which language do they speak there?
We speak Armenian, and we have our own letters and alphabet and language, and it's a 3,000 years old nation.
Mm. I know that you speak French also, right? How many languages do you speak?
I know 5.
Wow.
Interesting fact, right?
Yes.
This is turning to a fun fact. So it will be Armenian, Russian, English, German, and French.
That's cool and interesting. Nice.
Thank you.
And now currently, what is your current role? I know that we are working together, but just like to get to...
Yeah, for everybody else.
Yeah.
This last Scala conference, when I was speaking, there was a section to write down your role, and I wrote down universe engineer because I changed my position and languages so much that at some point I didn't know if I was a QA or if I was a developer or I was just a team of one person doing whatever is needed. Right now, I'm between development and QA, I would say mostly development, doing Scala backend cool stuff at LiveIntent.
Nice. It seems that you have an interesting journey. Let's start from the very beginning. How you got interested to choose something related to tech?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So my father, he used to be a programmer in the very early stages of it. I don't know if anybody knows, but he used to tell me like the computers were a size of a entire room and with very little processing power but very huge machines. And I think I followed his steps, like it was my first intuition to follow his steps because he was helping me a lot at school. Like we would do advanced mathematics and physics, not just the school program, but something advanced. And it got to the point where I really loved mathematics and a bit of a nerd way. And it was kind of logical that I just continue with it. So I went to another city to study applied mathematics and software engineering, computer science studies, and did my master's in computer science too. During my master's, I had to work, I would say, to provide for my family. So I started working when I was studying, and that's how I got into tech.
What was exactly you have to do in that job?
So it was a part-time job at first because I was working at the same time in the university and studying, and then I had work. And it was a QA job with mix of automation and manual QA for an American company, one from New York, I think. And I was lucky to get it without having any prior experience. So I thought I would stick with it at least before I finish my study. It was kind of a convenient position for me as a student, and I could take care of myself with my income, and not just of myself, but of my sister and my brother who were studying too. So it was a good start for me. However, it was not my dream to continue to be a QA. I mean, not that there is anything wrong with it, but I didn't feel that was my thing.
Did you have that time a specific thing in mind that you wish to do instead, if you have the choice to do?
Yeah, so during my study and time at school, I loved to solve problems. I loved to challenge myself. And in the university, of course, we had a lot of projects to do real development work. And that was something that interested me most. So I wanted to do pure development, learn about front end, back end, like everything. Unfortunately, I had to continue with the job I had and just like look forward for a chance to switch someday.
I see. And do you remember some challenges that you faced during your first professional experience there?
Actually, no. I mean, regarding the job itself, like getting the job done, there was not many challenges because, when you are 20 something, you have so much energy, like you have time to work, to study, to whatever, right? So much life in you that I never felt overwhelmed with studying and working at the same time. I think the challenge for me was getting introduced to hierarchy in a big company and learning the rules for it, like coping with it and being strategic about it and not letting things get under my skin, like not letting things bother me too much, like I don't know, micromanaging or some kind of work conflict,
Yeah. So from that, you started to develop some soft skills to be able to deal with different challenges with people or things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And there is no other place, I think, to learn those skills than to start early and observe and learn, do mistakes, learn on that. It's good that at the same time I was kind of shaping up as an adult and as a professional, so I could pick up really easy. Like I didn't have already set some kind of mindset that I could kind of develop going on, professional skills and soft skills. So I think soft skills was a bit of more challenge than the programming skills.
Yeah, I agree. After you finished university, you continued working for that company or you tried different things?
So there was, it's still there, one company in Armenia, it's called PixArt. And you know how there are hype places to work at, and PixArt was like the hypest place to work at the time. Like very free culture, friendly, and I had a lot of friends working there and heard a lot of good things. So I had a dream to work for PixArt after I finished my studies, and I got my diploma. I think it was December, and on the New Year's night in the same year, I wrote a letter to PixArt, very short one, which just said, "Dear PixArt, here is my CV. If you like it, please write me back. If you don't like it, please write me back. And then when the holidays were over, they actually wrote me back. And yeah, the process started. I got hired there, and I didn't regret any of it. It was a really positive change in my career, where I still was doing QA, and that was what I was hired for, but more automation oriented with Java, and it helped me to get better at Java quite a bit.
That's really inspiring how you like it, the company, and it is one of your dreams. It was brave to write that email, and it worked. Just to go
Yeah,
for it, and you get that job. I feel inspired by this.
thank you. Even I feel inspired. Like it was a brave thing to do, and
Yeah.
one has to believe, one has to risk, one has to be bold to get what they want, I guess.
Yeah, totally. I agree. And then how did you progress in your career?
So my plan of my life was to finish university, get some work experience, and move to Europe. So while working for Pixar, I was already looking for a job in Berlin, and specifically in Berlin. So I only left that company to move to Europe. Finally, when I found a job in Berlin, it was quite quick for me. Like I think within 1 month, I moved to Berlin, and that was also like a fixed idea that I had to follow. I thought, whatever happens, Berlin is my city. Somehow I had this feeling that Berlin is going to be the right place for me. And I went for it without ever visiting Berlin, actually. I just went for it listening to myself, and it was a great idea.
Yeah, it feels like your gut feeling knows that
Yeah, exactly.
there is a connection somehow. This job, was it at LiveIntent or?
It was a little company called Bonial, also very nice place, and I am forever thankful to them to give me the opportunity to live in a city I love. So I got hired as a QA because that was the experience that I had from the previous years, and that's what counted. That's what enabled me to move here. I spent just 9 months in this company because I felt like I was not really growing much with my programming skills, and I changed my job. I applied for a position at Wayfair. It was a full stack developer's position, and you would think from QA to full stack is kind of weird, but they were looking for kind of a junior person who could do diverse things, a little bit of front end, a little bit of back end, a little bit of testing, bring in testing culture to the team, improving processes. So one position for like a consultant's position of sorts. It was probably the most difficult interview in my life, but it was so worth it. I learned a lot there. I was doing PHP and JavaScript with React for front end. I loved that job because I got to have access, and I got to have tasks to do so many different things, and I got to learn a lot of things. That was the benefit of it. And then Corona happened. Yeah, story of everybody's life. And there was a massive crisis at Wayfair. They let go, I think, 40% of people, and a lot of people just left we thought it's a sinking ship, which it wasn't actually in the end. But who knows, like with such huge companies,
Yes.
you don't know. So I left for LiveIntent.
Before we move to the next job, do you remember some challenges that you have faced because of the process of moving to a new country? And like, is there a difference in the culture? I'm asking this just from my perspective, because I see there was a lot of difference. From my experience, did you experience that?
I don't know if it was my enthusiasm or it was for real, but from the first day on, I felt like Germany or Berlin was very welcoming to me. I hear from a lot of people that, they are not so warm, they are not so caring. It's hard with the language, it's hard to adopt the bureaucracy. There I know people face a lot of problems. Maybe I even had those problems but didn't notice because I was too excited just to be here, and I didn't see them as problems, but I saw them as normal, day-to-day little things to solve on along the way.
Yeah.
I didn't face really such a big challenge that would stay on my mind and I could actually talk about.
I'm happy that you have this mindset. It's like you are focusing on the things that motivate you.
Yeah.
I remember the story. There are two friends were looking into someone who is offering free pretzel, and there is a huge queue, and the person who noticed it thought it's very interesting to have a free pretzel, but the other person thinks about how much long the queue is to get there. And the person who was focusing about the pretzel to get the pretzel didn't have any problem to wait in the queue. It's just like it reminded me of this story.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and was there a difference actually also about the people in Armenia? Were there a balanced number of, I don't know if it is the right word to use, of women working in tech companies, or it is the same as in Berlin? You didn't feel there is difference?
In the overall company, like company level ratio of women and men, I would say was roughly the same. However, if you look at the development team, there is very little amount of women, and it's the same also, I guess, in every country, because that's what the job suggests. It was the same when I was studying, like in my university. We were, I think, 3 girls and 20 guys in one group. And that was also the case in our team going on. It's also the case right now in my team. I guess it's just the way it is. It didn't change much.
I see. Yeah, it's interesting because actually in Tunisia it's different because I studied and worked there with more women and 3 or 4 guys, and it was interesting. Yeah, really, I didn't notice that there is this much difference. But yes, but you are right. Like most of the countries having the same. I think if there is a country that has many tech companies and there are many tech people already there, it happens that there were men, and then there was the idea that it is mostly men's job. But because in Tunisia, tech companies appeared late, and also the computer science appeared when I was there, and it was late, so people had the choice, and there is no stereotype. There is nothing, like we have no idea if we should take it or not. And then there is no, we didn't think that it is mostly men are there. So most of the people who doesn't know what to do, like me, went for computer science, and then it became like diverse a lot. Like it's a lot, and mostly women actually, from what I saw at university, and at the company where I worked on, but it's interesting concept.
It's like completely the opposite side. But you are right, that makes a lot of sense because for us, computer science was there forever. Science was there forever. And it's kind of a tough thing to study and to do. So, and if because it's tough, it would be a man's job, sort of, because women would go for more like language oriented or geography or teacher, something like that, and the men would do the tough job, sort of, which I mean it's not great, but that's just how it developed. And I remember a lot of time people would be so surprised to learn that I study computer science, and even they would say to my face like, "Isn't that a man's job?" You know.
It happens, yeah. I don't know how they perceive it, but
Yeah.
it's also interesting. There are like many women who are doctors, and like science and like human body is more complicated than computers, and
True.
and I don't know why like this. Yeah, I see many people get surprised and they question like why would you choose this or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you are right, and it's weird. It's like I guess doctor never gets asked like why, or it's a man's job or anything, but somehow, yeah, for computer science it was the case historically, I would suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm proud of you that when you started your journey, you were focused on what you want and you were not focused on the things that are there and how society would go for, like
Yeah,
many people would suggest for their daughter to be something specific and they follow that path. But no, you choose
yeah.
what you are interested in, and it's really a good way and the right way to do it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And I assume your next job is LiveIntent, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, that you moved from Wayfair to.
Wayfair didn't stop following me um, because we work still with Wayfair at LiveIntent.
Yeah.
No, it's a good thing. I loved my time at Wayfair, but I love my time so much more at LiveIntent. Actually, I have great position that helps me learn, helps me be creative and independent. I feel like I get so much opportunity to just try what I want and so much help with it. This is the first place that I could fully focus on development in, and I was given the chance. I was again hired to kickstart testing framework that would help test backend solutions that LiveIntent had, but already like changing my job for the third time or fourth time, I didn't want to start from ground up, right? I wanted actually to negotiate to have what I really wanted. So when I was getting hired, the deal was, okay, I will write this framework to test things and then switch to development. So that was kind of the deal all along. And that's how it happened. And I appreciate that nobody, stepped back from from what the deal was.
Yeah, and I like it that you are still remembering that passion, because you sometimes like during university we get like passionate about something and then because of work we might forget about it or something like this.
Yeah,
But I like how you mentioned this in the interview, and I'm happy that they kept their promise and you are around people. Like there is guidance in the team, and
yeah. I knew all along that this is what I wanted to do, even during work. Like I would study myself. There was, for example, when Go started being popular, like I was like, what is Go? So I would just write little programs here and there to learn Go, to see what it is about. And every time there was a new trend, so to say, in programming, I would give it a chance. I was always interested to try something new, like to be kind of language technology agnostic, not be a Java guy or JavaScript guy, but just to be an engineer.
That's really good. And later you started learning Scala. How did you make that decision?
I was prepared for it because Scala is what we use at work, and especially appreciate it because it's such a new way of thinking for me, functional programming. I've never done it before. So I was extra curious about Scala. I should say, though, it was very hard.
Yeah.
It's still hard to grasp those complex terms of functional programming and just like change your way of thinking completely to adopt that.
Yeah.
But it's super interesting, and there is endless path of learning and getting better. Even you compare like the same library or way of doing things from 3 months ago and now, it's so drastically improved that it inspires you, in Scala, I feel.
Yeah, I can see that. And I see also your enthusiasm about Scala because I see your contribution in different projects as we work together. And and I really admire how you took a step of starting giving tech talks, and you just gave a talk in a conference. How was this experience?
Yeah, experience was very scary. Like the whole thing actually starting out with Scala. I mean, I didn't think to give up, but there were moments that I thought maybe I'm just not meant for this because I had to read the same thing so many times and I had to try it out, and still like a lot of times I had no idea to how even Google my compilation error. But where it comes over time, you get used to it, you learn. A lot of people think at work also, they say, oh, you are brave that you switched to Scala from QA. Maybe I'm brave, but on the first place, I was just self-test, like testing myself, not giving up and just going through with it. And it paid off very soon when I took part in Scala conference. I got suggested by our team lead, I should say, to introduce, like to speak about the project I did at LiveIntent. Where it was just not just me, but I was the most junior person to do it, and I would take tasks that are not my level, but still try to deliver them. So I got to contribute a lot to this project, and they thought it's worth that I am the one to speak about it from a perspective of a beginner. And
yeah, it's I like how you challenge yourself also. And I know there is a lot of work you had to do, and a lot of different situations you went through, that you have to understand different concepts and ask questions. But you are doing great at work and in your progress, and it's really good to see how you are growing and this.
Thank you.
Do you have like next challenges?
Yeah, I think speaking on a conference was huge. It was so much stress and so much reward. This inspired me to continue to come up with better subjects to talk about and be really part of community and just like be more active, give more public talks, which is very scary but very exciting.
Yeah.
So I think next challenge for this year would be to contribute more to different projects and to try take part in the next conference to come.
Yeah, and I believe in you, and all the best for
Thanks.
this. So to wrap up, do you have any advice for people who are starting their journey, and if you have something that you wished if you have known before?
So I have one general advice, and I myself, I wish I did it earlier, which is to challenge yourself. People get comfortable at a job, at a position, and never try to pursue what they really want. And I mean, they have a job, it pays the bills, pretty convenient, you know.
Yeah.
There is still something on the back of their mind where they would never go for it because it's hard. You don't know what comes. What if you fail, you know?
Yeah.
So my advice would be just life is too short. You have to do what you like in a place you like, surrounded with people you like, and just enjoy the job you do. Because I mean, you spend the most of the day on it, so it has to be really give you a good feeling.
Yeah.
Right in the end of the day.
Yeah.
So for me, I wish I did it earlier. For any personal reasons, I didn't have a chance. I couldn't leave my job and start from zero because I would have no financial support for somebody else. You know, I couldn't just go any lower with my salary, but do what I like just for personal reasons. But yeah, I still wish I was more ambitious earlier than now, but it's okay still. And the next advice I think I would have for women specifically, because I have a lot of friends, women who work in tech, and I hear a lot about discrimination, that it's not, that they are not treated equally, because obviously, like, if there is any kind of conflict at work between two men, they can just go outside and say, hey, man, so I didn't like what you did there. You know, it's very easy conversation. And when you have the same between man and the woman, a lot of times the woman is confused how to approach this problem. They might just like take it in, try to cope with it, try to find their mistake, and you know, just try to overcome it innerly, not talk about it, not like speak up about it, which is too bad. And I have friends that would have burnouts because of this, just because they are women. And just because they are used to reacting to things like, okay, so this must be my fault, right? But even like being surrounded with all men, being the only woman in the team, I just want to advise that woman to not be a victim of stereotypes and be bold, speak up, not blame themselves when it's not the case, and just like be themselves, not let this fact of being minority affect their work or the level of enjoying that work.
Yeah, I really like this advice.
Yeah, you can relate, I guess.
Yeah. And like with this, I think it's very valuable that you share about this perspective. It can inspire other women, and you are brave. And
Thank you.
I wish you all the best.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for your time, and I enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you also for this opportunity. It feels good to say things out loud sometimes, because otherwise one doesn't have a chance. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. I'm looking forward to our next episode with a new guest and new inspiring story. Until then, stay safe and stay tuned to our next episode. Tic Tac, tackle the inspiration.